All right, guys. I want to do a quick one going into some um I guess experience, just describing to you what we did, how we got this house. Um this isn't I'm not giving you real estate advice. I'm not giving you financial, advice. I'm just telling you what we did and how I see things. It's up to you to do with your money however you wish. Okay? So don't anybody who works in the biz, don't go trying to make a big deal about it, because I know some of them will. All right, guys. One thing that puts you in a pit when it comes to buying a home, doing a mortgage. Let's be real. Most people have to mortgage. Not everybody's got hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in the bank. And one thing that puts you in a pit when you are mortgaging, and it's something that a lot of people do, and we had to do this our first time. The first time we bought a house, we did this. We didn't have much of a choice, okay? What is that thing? Not putting a down payment on a house, or putting a very small down payment on a house. Guys, why is a down payment good when you're having to finance anything? Again, the most ideal situation is paying cash, but when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, most people don't have that saved up. But why is it a good thing to put the down payment on the house? Well, guys, it lowers the principal amount. It lowers the amount financed. It puts you in a better position for equity later. Okay? There's also other benefits to it. You need to look that up. Again, I'm not trying to go into a whole real estate spiel about it, but there are benefits to it. You can avoid paying other fees that you would have to because of the amount that you have mortgaged. Okay, that's how I'm going to break it down. All right, so let's say the first house we got, we did an FHA. We didn't have a whole lot of cash saved up, but we used what we could, and we did an FHA loan. I think we put, I don't know, like $6,000 or something down. Now, this was back in the day. The numbers have changed, but so we did that. Well, guys, when we sold our house, we had it for, I don't know, a good 4 years. We had some equity built in. The market went up. It was during that time when the market was climbing. It was climbing hot. And we bought the house when it was, it was still, I don't want to say it was at the bottom. I wish we would have bought it sooner, because we would have made a heck of a lot more money on it. But, it had more hill to climb, for sure, when we bought it. And the location that we were at was climbing. And when we sold it, and this was a God thing, how it lined up, to be honest, because it wasn't like we weren't looking to sell. We kind of got pushed to sell. But the Lord blessed us with that because, coincidentally enough, the market was starting to plateau around that time. So in my opinion, I feel like we sold it at the perfect time. We made a good bit for our first home sale. Then we looked at another house. The one you're seeing now. It was a bit of an upgrade for us because we had made some money. But we didn't do the same thing when we got this house. We put a lot of money down on this house. At least 20%. And we did that so that the principal amount would be as low as it could be. Also did that, it lowers your monthly payment. There's other benefits to putting down a big down payment if you can. Now, some people only think about the monthly payment and they don't think about cash value or anything like that. And they go, I'm not putting any money down. And they're so proud of their vet loans or their whatever loans where you put nothing down. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, the only time that really benefits you is if you know you're going to be moving out of that house pretty quickly. That's just my opinion. You know, I feel like them VA loans, it works out for that because those guys, you know, especially if you're like active duty and all that, you're moving around. You know, you might not be in that house that long. But for most people spend some years in their house. I mean, and most people do move, but anyway, that's what we did. Okay, so that's how we got here. It wasn't like, you know, we were rich already. Because I'm telling you, we lived in some dumpers before we got into this one. But we took baby steps. And eventually we figured out how to manage our money. And we made better choices with it. We worked hard and saved. And like I just told you, we were blessed with a scenario where we had to sell. And we used that and put that on this house. And the idea is when we sell this house again, hopefully we'll do even better. That's the idea. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, when I look at houses and I look for houses, I try to find houses that have good bones, but that need some work. I don't mind putting in work on the house. The thing I look for in a house is if it's in a nice neighborhood, in a nice location. I like to get the dog of the neighborhood. Well, maybe I don't want to say the absolute dog. It all just depends on what you're capable of taking on. The dumpier the house, the more work it's going to take and the more money it's going to cost you up front. You know, I don't know what you got to invest. But if you're a first timer or you're an early, you know, you're a novice, you're starting out with the whole investment property thing, try to pick you out a house that's got good bones, needs some work, you know, new paint, new fixtures, you know, maybe some appliance updates, you know, nothing huge. You don't want to have to put a brand new roof on at first go or replace the AC first time around when you just move in. You know, these are things that, you know, you got to look out for. And being that I have a background in inspection, you know, I worked alongside some really top-notch home inspectors in Chatham County. Sometimes I look at 8 or 10 houses a day doing inspections. Now, I did termite inspections, but the thing is I was working side by side with some really good home inspectors. And you know what? They showed me some tricks of the trade. And I didn't just let that go over my head. You know, I took that in. I took the goodie out of it. And I used those skills. I used it when I bought this house. I think we had a plumbing issue. We had to have a guy come out and clear out a clog. Not that much. Was able to negotiate a home warranty as part of the deal. You know, I mean, not trying to brag or nothing, but we paid less for this house than what we sold our old house for. And this house is twice the size as the old house. So we got a bigger house and, you know, paid less than what we sold the old one for. I mean, I don't want to go into all the specifics of it. If you really want to know, you can look it up. It's public records, but yeah. So, you know, that's what I mean when I say you got to think out of the box a little bit. Now, people are going to try to tell you, don't put money down. Don't put it. You don't need to put that money down. You know, a lot of people make money when you have really big loan amounts. You know, one thing about the finance and the money business is, and this is just a general idea that you need to think about, but like the more hands that the loan passes through, the more hands that touch that deal, the more it's going to cost. So when you got this guy who's going to pass it over to this person, who's going to pass it over here, who's going to pass it over here, they add more and more and more money to it. And before you know it, what you thought was only going to cost $200,000, you're going to be financing, you know, $260,000 or whatever, you know, whatever the amount is. Again, I'm not giving you finance advice. I'm not giving you real estate advice. I'm just telling you how I think and what we did. Now, when you got to buy your house and do your own thing, you go to your own conclusions. You do what fits you best. Y'all have a good one.